Good morning, it's Dave at All Things Important Reviews. Please smash that like button, please smash that subscribe button. I've got with me today a Steeldive homage watch. This is the SD 1970. This is a homage to a Seiko model that was very popular years ago, and in fact Seiko have kind of reissued the one that this watch is homage from, and basically it's informally known as Seiko's Turtle, which is the 6105, but Seiko have actually released a modern version of it in their Prospects lineup that costs around, I believe, over 1,200 quid. Now this is an excellent, as we're going to find out, an outstanding homage to that watch. It has everything from the looks, the ceramic bezel, the sapphire crystal, the automatic movement, the diver's clasp, although the clasp is, the swing arms of the clasp is probably the weakest part of the watch. But other than that, it is a fantastic watch. Let's start off with the sizing. And the sizing is where a lot of the positives go into it. So I've seen it online stated as 44mm, I've seen it at 43, and I've seen it at 45. I've measured it. I've measured the biggest part of the case to be 44mm. That's this measurement. I've measured the bezel to be 41.3 diameter. So the watch definitely does not feel like a 44mm watch, because everything's pushed in. The dial is smaller, obviously, the bezel is a lot smaller, etc. I've measured the thickness at 13.6. It does not have a super case style. The case is beautifully curved. The case is tapered and goes up, and is curved upwards, so it does not dig into the wrist. I've measured the lug to lug to be around 46.9, 47mm, and because it has female end links, the end link to end link is the same size as the lug to lug. So all in all, this is a very compact watch on the wrist. It does not in any way feel like a 44mm watch. It feels very, very good size on the wrist, and the reason is because of that lug to lug dimension and end to end link dimension. You know, on my Victorinoxes that I've been reviewing recently, some of their end to end link, which is because they've got male end links, they're actually about 50.55, 56mm, I believe, with a lug to lug of like 52, 51. You know, this only has a 57mm end link to end link and lug width, so it feels super compact on the wrist. If you think about that, you know, the case diameter is only 45mm. It's pretty much a circular case, basically. I mean, it's not, obviously, it is longer than it is wider, but it's close to that measurement. So it feels super compact on the wrist. So sizing is outstanding. The thickness is totally fine, and it's totally fine because around 0.5mm to 1mm of the thickness is took up by that protruding beveled sapphire crystal. So it does not feel like a 13.5mm thick watch. It feels like a 12.5mm thick watch, in all honesty. It does not feel top heavy because of that. The thickness is being met by this crystal, where not a lot of the weight, I don't think, will be. And the case is curved as well. It's not a big flat slab, so you know some of the steel is removed from there, reducing the weight. So So the sizing is outstanding. The crystal is a sapphire. I don't know why they've chosen to make it not flush with the bezel. It is proud, as I've just shown, it is proud of the bezel. I don't personally like that. I think that they should all be, but there has to be reasons for that. I think some of them do it and some of them curve them, etc., dome them. They do it for reasons of water resistance. I believe it makes the glass less, well, stronger basically. But anyway, I digress. Moving on to the dial. The dial is excellent. It is not too plain and not too cluttered. The Steeldive logo is it is obviously a black dial with a black ceramic bezel. I kept it all black with fully loomed bezel and fully loomed indices. The bezel and the if you can just see that there, I know it's not the best, but they are actually different colours. The bezel is like a blue and the dial indices are like a green. The loom is outstanding, by the way, which we'll talk about later. But the dial, the branding is fine. Obviously Steeldive has a kind of childish, bit of a childish logo, but on a dive style watch, okay, they've signed the crown as well, showing you. On a dive style watch, I think that is fine, is absolutely fine. It says automatic with water 200 meter resist. So it is a 200 meter water resist watch, so you should be able to take it diving, water sports, all that, no problem, as long as the crown is screwed down. It is not, though, a diver's 200 meter watch, which would mean it meets the ISO standard for diving. Now that's not to say that you couldn't, it doesn't meet it, but we don't know because it's not been tested. And it's not to say that you couldn't take a non-diver's 200 meter watch diving. Perhaps you could. You know, Rolex watches, I don't believe, use that standard. They have their own in-house certification and testing, and they can do 300 meter. Some of them do even more, 600 meter, 1000 meter. So it's not the be all and end all, the fact that it doesn't have a diver's 200 meter. And in these homage watches, you're not going to get that because it would add a lot of cost to the watch if they had to go through that process. So this is just a water 200 meter water resist watch. But as far as I'm aware, you can go diving with this, no problem. So talk about the bezel. The bezel is really tough. It's a really tough bezel to turn. I don't know if you'll like that. I will never use the bezel because I'll never use it for timing dives because I never go diving. But if you do want that, the bezel is really tough to turn. Minimal back play, but super, super tough to turn. Okay, I don't know why that is, but it is really hard to turn. You can feel that. It does feel crisp, but it doesn't feel to me as good as some of the Paganis and the other homage makers. Look, it's really hard to turn that, but there must be a reason for that. Yeah. The bezel is ceramic. I'm a huge fan of ceramic or sapphire bezels. I cannot stand aluminium bezels because they break too easily in terms of the scratching. I don't mean they actually shatter. One downside to a ceramic bezel is the shattering, but I've never had one shatter. If you dropped it from a height, it's possible that you could shatter it because, you know, it's a more brittle substance than metal and aluminium. But the bezel is fine. The alignment is good. The alignment overall is good with the indices and the chaptering and all that is good. The hands are pretty plain, but I believe they're true to the homage. And it doesn't have a cyclops. It has the date window, which is, again, and I think it looks cleaner without it having the cyclops on this model. The real one, I don't think, well, the one it's homaged from, the Seiko, does not have a cyclops. So it looks completely fine. It looks really, the presentation of the watch, it's unique in terms of, you know, the design of the watch obviously has been homaged from Seiko, so Seiko takes all credit for the design. But this type of diver style watch. It does have a unique kind of design, and people say it looks like a turtle, which is why I think they call it informally the turtle style. So you know, it does have a unique, and that has benefits and downsides. One is that it's more harder to dress the watch up because obviously it's a tool watch essentially. The crystal is sapphire, and I don't know if they have put anti-reflective coating on it, but the dial is super legible. It's really easy to read the dial, no issues at all there. So I love the presentation of the watch. I love the presentation of the dial and the crystal and the bezel, and the overall look of the dive style watch. It's very utilitarian but very good also. Okay, let's now talk about the crown. I've been touching the crown previously, using it, feels absolutely fine, no problems there. Make sure, because it's got a big screw in, this style of, because the position of the crown is at 4 o'clock, and one benefit of that is, again, the digging in of the wrist. That is a long screw. That, what I'm saying is, be careful when you set the date, make sure you've completely screwed it in, because it keeps turning and turning and turning a long time. So it is signed as well, as I showed you previously. So the crown is fine. You've got your date, obviously. I like as well, I've just noticed that, but I like they've put a red marker on the seconds hand, and it coincides with the red on the 200 meter water resist. I do like red on black watches. I think more companies should put red. Omega on the latest 300 meter diver 300M, they put red on it, and I think it is better. I think it adds extra than just black and silver. I think that's boring. Let's talk about the case back. They have etched it. They have put some markings on there. It's not a see-through one. It is steel. Just a stainless Steeldive 200 meter water resist. Yeah. Does it tell you the model? Trying to see if it tells you the model. Don't think it does actually. No, it doesn't tell you the model. But you've got that big Steeldive emblem again, so it's not a completely plain case back, which is good. So it doesn't feel like a super generic, unbranded watch that you can get on some AliExpress sellers. Let's talk about the bracelet. The bracelet is excellent. It is fully solid in terms of the actual bracelet. The clasp is not, but the end links are solid. The links are solid again. It's all brushed. I think the flanks are polished. Yeah, they are. The flanks are polished with push pins. Now, one benefit of push pins is that they're super easy to resize. It is really, they even send you a tool, but I don't use that type of tool. I use the one where you hammer them out. I just think it's easier and quicker. You've got arrows for where you take them out. So obviously you push it out that way. It is obviously a 3-link style bracelet, an oyster style bracelet. Does feel a touch cheap, a little bit, but again, it's been working absolutely fine. You know, the pins are not going to last forever. They will. It's not as good as using screws. They're only small, so they will fail over time, but you can just replace the bracelet for a few quid. It's not going to be expensive. So the clasp is, again, very functional. The only problem with the clasp is the swing arms are cheap, tinny steel, very thin metal, and the shell of the, you know, the body of the clasp is also very thin pressed metal. But it does have double deployant with a safety catch and push buttons, which I like. You've only got 3 micro adjusts, but again, you can easily swap this clasp out for another one, either off eBay or AliExpress, or off Strapcode or Gecko, Watch Gecko, and you can get a proper nice, you know, you could get one that's on the San Martin watches, something similar to that, a really heavy duty one. You could get a diver one that has ratcheting, which I think is overrated. I won't be getting that. I prefer just to have the micro adjusts. There's loads of stuff you can do. You can swap it out for if you really wanted. It's a really generic kind of bracelet, so it's really easy to swap out. But again, do you know what? It is super, super comfortable. I'll just do a wrist shot for you. On this bracelet and on this clasp, it is so comfortable. That feels really, really good. It looks the part. You can get this watch in blue also. You can get it on a rubber band. Obviously, you can put it on any band you want. But notice as well, let me just show you this. Notice as well. Oh, I'm trying to show you this now. This is a bit crap. But see there, the case is tapered up. It's curved upwards. So when it's there on your wrist, if you wear watches, it doesn't dig in. It's got an excellent case design. So it feels super comfortable on the wrist. It doesn't feel top heavy and it doesn't feel too heavy. I'm going to guess that it's around 150 grams as a pure guess. So overall, it does have an automatic movement in it as well, which will be an NH, I believe 35. I'll double check that out for you. You know the standard score with these things. They're not super accurate. If you're lucky, you can get them within 10 seconds a day. But after time, they probably will decrease to something like 30 seconds plus or minus. But again, if you're wearing it occasionally as a weekend watch or on holiday, if you're wearing them as a daily driver and you truly are bothered about the time being absolutely correct, then you are going to be disappointed because they will lose time, these things. So you'd have to constantly change the time every week or accept that it's going to be off. I run my watches, other than the multi-band radio controlled ones, I run them all 5 minutes fast, and I rotate my watches. I don't wear them, you know, I've got that many of them. I don't wear the same ones every week. I just rotate them. So it doesn't really bother me that much. But if I wanted a true daily driver, I would be buying a quartz model, because I don't like it to, if I was going to wear just one watch all the time, I wouldn't like to keep changing the time. But overall, this watch at the price point of 64, I think it's about £64 plus your VAT. So that's £12, call it, plus an extra 13 quid. So it's going to be around like late 70s to buy. For that, for less than 80 quid, this watch is probably #1 best homage watch on AliExpress for that price. It is just, the only other one that could probably beat it is the Pagani Design 1661 or 1639. In terms of bang for buck, all round package, closeness to the original and all that kind of thing, they have done an outstanding watch. And I'm going to say that you would be stupid to spend 1,200 quid or 1,500 quid or however how much it is. It's over £1,000 on the Seiko model. I mean, yeah, that one will be divers certified, but who actually cares? Who goes diving? Who is going diving, seriously? I mean, you could dive with this. It just means that that's got the certification. You know, I don't even think it probably has a sapphire, but overall, you're not getting much more on that Seiko than you are on this, and this is a fraction. This is less than 10% of the cost. So this is an absolute winner. The only downside of this style of watch is that clearly it looks like a dive watch, and that means that you're not going to be putting it on with a suit. It is a casual tool watch, essentially. That's the only downside of these watches. You know, it does look a bit spaceshipy on the wrist, so it's not really a business attire or, you know, that kind of a watch. But if you're not bothered about anything like that, just go for it. And if you just want to wear it as a casual weekend watch like I will, it's near perfect. It is brilliant. So yeah, I hope you check my review out. Steeldive, I've got 2 of their watches now. Well, I've got an Addies Dive, which I believe are the same company. And the Addies Dive one cost me about 40 quid, and it's a quartz homage, and it's excellent. So really, really pleased with this watch. Thanks for checking my videos out. I'm going to do a comparison with this watch and my Citizen quartz model that is also a diver's, you know, a proper true diver's watch. I'm going to do a comparison, because that one is about 250 quid. This one is obviously about 80 quid. But they both feel similar, and I'm going to do a real comparison for you all, so you can have a look at that. Okay, thanks a lot. Have a great day.